So I have an iPhone 8. The home button rapid fires when you click on it, and that's because there's a small flex here that's ripped. So in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through how to run the jumpers to repair this. But before I get started, I do want to introduce myself. I'm Jesse from BCC Board Repairs. If you're new here to the channel, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and check out the links in the description. I actually have some new shirts that I have for sale. I'm wearing one right now. So if you get one, let me know in the comments down below. So let's go ahead and get started with this video. All right, so the first thing you want to do is do the visual inspection. Look closely here. There's a small little flex here that is broken. Usually what I've seen is when the screen cracks, this part of the frame kind of moves and it rips that cable. There's like a little metal bracket here, so that's where it kind of disconnects. That's why it always severs pretty straight right there. So one trick is get an old broken screen that's not useful, bend this tab out of the way, and what you're going to do is use the screen itself as a holder or jig for this, and it makes things a lot easier. So if you put in a screw right here, and then so I'm gonna loosen it a little bit and kind of line it up and then tighten the screw. Now you can see the cable is perfectly straight. Now I'm using the screen as a jig. Then get a blade. So I'm using a number 11 X-Acto blade. I'm gonna scratch out the top layers so we can expose the traces. So what I like to do is and just gently scrape and go so I'm scraping from top down, and I'm also going left and right. That way I don't concentrate too much scraping on one spot and possibly damage something. There's multiple layers here that we're gonna be dealing with. First one is the black coating, and then there's underneath should be like a brownish, like a darker brownish color, which is the kind of coating over the traces. And then you can start seeing them now. This repair is pretty straightforward. You basically just have to reconnect the traces. You can just visually kind of line them up. You can see already there's one black line here. So that's the space between the traces. So just kind of close that. Also, another thing is, I'm doing these jumpers. What we're gonna do is kind of run them in a staggered kind of layout. That way, when we're soldering, we're not kind of soldering the next jumper over. Okay, so right now, you could see like the dark brownish kind of color. So this part is not, you can't solder to this yet. You have to scratch out like another layer so you see the shiny copper like this. And then I'm gonna do it staggered. So I'm gonna scratch out the shiny copper from here, a little lower. And then up here, then down here. Okay. So drop some alcohol, kind of clean up this area. All right, so now time for this flex, which is a little harder because it's like a little loose cable. But what I like to do is I'm gonna just scrape up. Also the camera, because the silver, like the silver things here, it kind of darkens the screen or the camera colors. You can't really see it. So I apologize about that. You're essentially going to do the same thing. Let me see. Let me try holding down the flex. Maybe it'll make it a little easier. I'm using some non-pointy tweezers so I don't damage it. Essentially, I'm doing the same thing, trying to scrape out the different layers, but I also want to scrape out one layer at a time. So right now I'm just trying to, whenever I see the next layer, I start scratching on different area to expose some more of that same layer. So right now I'm trying to just get rid of a lot of the black layer. So once I start seeing the brownish layer, then I kind of go to different spots. Very tedious. If you've never done this before, we recommend you practice on a donor home button just so you can kind of get a feel for this. It's super easy to damage the flex. So you can see the same traces on this side as the other side. So just kind of scratch like that. Okay. You see the same thing. So let's go ahead and scratch out enough to expose the copper. So trying to think. So let me first kind of fold it underneath a little better. So what I'm gonna do is this one's up here. Let me do it up here as well. I want to scratch out some of the dark brown part so I could expose the shiny copper, because this is the part that you can solder. And this one's down here, so I'm gonna scratch it down here. Now you do have to pay attention to your blade to see where it's scratching, because depending on your blade, especially if it's been used before and is a little like worn down, the sharp part might not be the tip. So you gotta kind of scratch and see where it's scratching and get an idea where the actual, sharp part is happening. And then all right, so I think I got most of it. Now we're gonna run tiny little jumpers, so actual surface area doesn't really matter. Also, since this is a tester screen, I don't have to worry about, well, not a tester screen, it's a the dead screen. It's like completely smashed. So I don't have to worry about alcohol getting on the LCD or backlight. You know, this is why you use a non-working screen versus, you know, the customer screen or a new screen. You do have to, you know, use alcohol and whatnot. All right, so some flux. Then I'm gonna use my micro pencil. This is the Hackle FM 2032. I'm gonna tin each spot I'm gonna solder on. So up here, down here, here, down here, and same on the other part of the flex. All right, so as you can see, there's the 4 points I'll be soldering, and then on each side of the flex. So now, time for some jumpers. So I have a little piece of a jumper wire here. Let me see if I can use it. This one's already pre-cut from a previous job or previous repair. And I'm rotating the flex so I could be in a better, comfortable position. Look at that, it's like the perfect length here. So while it's kind of in place, I'm just gonna hit it real quick with the iron. And yeah, there we go. I was able to get it on. So what this means is I now have, not only do I have the flex solder on, but also that jumper wire is kind of holding it together. So now I'm just gonna repeat that same thing for all the other ones and we should be done. Hopefully this is a super quick video. And if you run across this, you'll be able to do it yourself. All right, so what I like to do is down here on my Amazon heat mat, I put like pieces of jumper wire. That way I could just grab them and use them like I am right now. All right, so now I have an extra long jumper. So let me show you how I deal with these. So I'm gonna leave it extra long. I'm gonna solder this end down here. Same process, just a super quick tap is enough. Then it's already lined up, almost. And a really quick tap. Remember, this is a super thin wire, so it doesn't require a lot of heat to solder. And then for the excess, I'm going to find the spot where kind of the solder ends. So you can see here where I push it, kind of that's where it like pivots. So I'm going to, well, let me clean the tip of the blade. I'm going to just press down until it breaks. All right, so not yet. There it goes. Oh, it came loose. Let me solder that one more time. So kind of just hold it in place. And it's soldered on. Okay, next jumper. Exact same thing. So, going to just quick little taps. This one took a little more heat. I think it's just because this is a ground, so ground usually requires more heat. You know what? I think the solder on my soldering iron tip kind of low. I'm going to feed it a little more solder, and then should, hold on. What I'm doing is basically feeding the soldering iron tip. I think my soldering iron tip is a little oxidized. I'm gonna stab it in my like the brass wire, and try again. All right, a little better. All right, let's just leave it like that. Should be good enough on that jumper. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna cut off the end on here by pushing down. Then I need one more jumper wire. This one's too short. Whatever's left over is not long enough, so let me get another piece here. Where's that piece of wire? The jumper wire is super small and thin, and it likes to fly away. And also, like the static charges or whatever, or something, it just like attracts, it kind of sticks to stuff or gets pulled in by whatever. All right, so I got the jumper wire here. Let me solder this end first. Then solder the left side. Okay. And then I have excess wire, so let me I'm kind of pressing down and also pulling the wire. That was enough to get it off. And save this piece of wire. And we're pretty much done. So now I'm gonna test. If it tests good, then we're gonna put some UV mask to kind of hold it all together. Also, it'll add some stability to the flex so that it doesn't break. You know, next time someone does a screen repair, they won't like break it. And you see how they're staggered? That allowed me to solder like this without disturbing this one, and this without disturbing that, etc. The one thing I am noticing is, what I wanted to check is if this wire here is making contact with the next. It is not. These are all pretty much on point. All right, so let's go over to the other camera. So here's the phone. All right, turns out this is an iPhone 8 Plus, not an iPhone 8, but the process is the same. I'm using an iPhone 7 or 8 screen as a tester, or as a jig, so that's probably why I got confused. Okay, got the home button out of that. This is the customer screen. Just noticed I'm out of frame. Okay, so all right, we have the home button plugged in, so I'm just gonna test like this. No need to install the home button plate. We're just testing. We just want to see if it works. Okay, that's plugged in. All right, plug everything in. Now let's plug it in to charge to turn it on as well. All right, so let's give it a second to boot up. Now, one thing to note is a lot of people like to ask if they could just send me the home button to repair. Unfortunately, no, because I do need the original phone so I can do the testing. Now I'm going to click and it's working. So before, like you would like touch the button and it will rapid click, like super like click really fast like a machine gun. Right now, clicking and it works well. So single click, right, it goes back to the home screen. Double click, brings up previous apps. Tap and hold, or click and hold, and I feel it vibrate. But I guess I don't have Siri enabled, so but yeah, home button is good. So let me show you guys how to put on the UV mask. Okay, so what you want to do is, I'm still on the customer screen just because this part is not too invasive. So if you do this right, you shouldn't have an issue. So I got the UV mask. What I like to do is press out just a little bit. If you look at the tip of the bottle, you can see some is coming out. So I leave like a little bubble like that. I come in with my blade, scoop a little bit up. That's actually a lot more than needed. And then I use my blade as a serving spatula kind of way. So I hold the blade nearby and I use my tweezer to apply it. Oops, that's a lot. Let me clean that off. This UV is kind of dried out. So what this UV mask does is, essentially it's a liquid right now. You put the UV light and it becomes a solid. Essentially what that does is kind of coats all the wires and everything so nothing bridges or shorts within each other. It also kind of creates a stable kind of hard surface. I might have to screw this in. Yeah, you know what? Let me screw that in real quick. That way it's straightened. That way it's kind of straight when I do cure this. All right, I'm not gonna put it super tight. You can see now it's a lot more lined up. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some more UV. I think the top end of that UV was too dry. I might need to open a new bottle soon because this feels real dry. Yeah, it seems like my UV has dried out. Although I didn't leave it out anywhere different. I don't know why it would dry out. Basically, I'm gonna put UV where I soldered. Also, you wanna be very, leave some thin layers. You don't wanna put it too thick, otherwise it won't cure with the UV light. Just apply it. So we're doing this. Let me know what you guys think about my shirt designs. I already had a lot of people buying them and real happy. You know, if you do phone repairs, this is a perfect shirt. This says I fix phones all day, and which is true for me. If it's true for you, Definitely recommend it. Now I know some people sometimes will use like super glue or other kind of glue as well to kind of create a strong kind of surface, like a strong bond. So that works too. Although super glue, if you mess up or something stops working, it's going to be real difficult to remove. Versus this stuff, a little bit of heat and like some, you know, scraping, it'll come off. Or super glue or whatever, that's going to be real hard to remove to like kind of redo your work. All right, so now with the UV light, just hit it maybe 10-20 seconds. So this is the boring part. Yeah, check out my shirt. This is I fix phones all day, every day. All right. Now you kind of see how the texture has changed. That's the UV when it cures. Now, I don't recommend you look at this directly with your eyeballs. I'm looking at mine through the screen. I'm fine, but if you look at this through the microscope, you could damage your eyes. UV light is not good for your eyeballs. Just fun fact. Now, whether this specific light can damage your eyes or not, I don't know. I would just play it safe and not do that. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. It's ready to go. And let me test it out one more time. All right, so now I actually have put the plate back on. I screwed it all down, and you can see I can double click, single click, tap and hold. I don't have Siri enabled. Also, let's check Touch ID and fingerprint. You can see, oh, I'm wearing gloves so it doesn't work, but you can see Touch ID is working because it's not giving any errors. So yeah, it's ready to go. It's fixed and good to go. So there you have it. iPhone 8 Plus home button flex is fixed. Super quick repair. So I hope you learned something from this video. I shared all my techniques, left nothing out. So really appreciate it if you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this video across all the different repair groups that you're in. Let me know what you think about my shirts. I'll have the link in the description. I'm really enjoying them. I'm getting a lot of good feedback. So, and that's pretty much it for me. So I'll see you guys next time.